Hi guys, it's Wendy from Ask the Landlady. I'm here with all the tips and tricks to help you make a profit in real estate rentals. Today's question is, what do I need to consider about creating a real estate empire to pass on to the next generation? Okay, so basically estate planning. How should I, as a little landlady here, decide what to do with my properties? Because I'm a holder. And since I consider my real estate portfolio my money making machine, right? I'm not going to sell the machine that's making me money. As long as I'm profitable and I still enjoy doing it, I should keep it, right? Make the money. Because as soon as I sell it, I've lost all that potential money that I can make. I've gotten a big payday, but then I've got to do something else with that money, right? Because I'm going to have tax ramifications if I don't, and I got to figure out how to invest it differently so that I can fund my retirement. All these types of issues come into play. So if it's something that you are considering giving to the next generation and you are going to keep that money making machine intact, there's some things you have to think about. So instead of thinking about selling it all off and dealing with brokers and trying to figure all that out, my considerations are different. They're about keeping up the properties, right, for the long term, keeping them in good condition there, reducing my debt, paying things down so that there's more money to be made, right? As you're paying those off, you're making more. So that's the good thing. And using that money to keep up the properties, right? Because those two tie together. Refinancing judiciously as I get better rates, trying to do that, trying to figure out not maybe taking on 30-year loans, but trying to shrink that gap so that I can get them paid off faster so that when it's goes to my kids, there isn't a lot of debt there. Yeah, I know there's good debt, bad debt, but that's my goal for them is to have that at that point in time, and to research all my options, keeping expenses down, the usual, just keeping everything working along there, keeping that money making machine nice and shiny so that it's not a burden to my children. So that being said, there are some considerations with this. First of all, you want to make sure that your family members are actually interested in this and that they want it. It's like a timeshare. Do not, gosh, I have another book coming out on Amazon on timeshare. And the short answer is don't buy it. But if you already have it, don't deed it to your kids. Don't give them that burden. It can die with you, and you'll have to check that book out to find out how, but that can happen. Anyway, you want to make sure that they're interested in it. If they're not interested in it, then you do maybe want to think about the end game of how to get these into something else, so that it isn't a burden to them. Or maybe make a connection with a local property management company that when that time comes, especially if you are older, that you maybe start to transfer that work to them so that it isn't a burden, especially for kids who are out of town, and develop that relationship and get do it in a different way. But that being said, your kids might have health issues or just other things, and they don't need that kind of burden. Think about that now, because you don't want to put that on them if it's not meant to be for them. Now, that being said, if they're showing a little bit of interest, kind of like mine, like, tell me more. I see how this works. I see how this paid for college and the house and all these types of things. So maybe I am interested. There's some things you can do. Maybe, let them do a little bit of landlording for you. When my daughter went to med school and needed a place to live, we bought a triplex there, and she and her husband managed it and got to see what it was like to be a landlord, to see if that's something they can do in the future and see what all the components are of that. You can take them on a conference with you. Go to a Mr. Landlord retreat. He always goes somewhere wonderful in January, and you can take your kids and see if it rubs off on them, see if they get a little bit of interest on it. You can have them read some real estate books, like, say, maybe this one. Check it out on Amazon, or this one. And see if they have that kind of interest. You're going to know pretty fast if they're interested or not interested, and that's going to pave the way to which way you go. Because again, I'm saying, well, they should be interested, but they're, and I have 3 kids, so if somebody's gonna be interested, they're all gonna divide it equally. They're gonna figure it out. But if they all were like adamant no, I would be looking in a different direction. And of course, the third thing you want to do, first of all, make sure they're interested. Second, if they have some interest, foster that and find ways to build on it. And number 3 is to actually consult with an attorney who does real estate planning for the future, estate planning, that has some knowledge about how to deal with this beast called real estate, because these laws change all the time. You want to, do you need them all in trust? Do you want to, how are you going to pass them on to the next generation without a huge tax burden? And that's very important, because you didn't build all this just let it die out, or to give it away, or to be a burden. So you built this baby, so you need to spend, and it's expensive. You got to spend some money now to make sure that that baby is protected as it gets passed on to somebody else. So think about it like another one of your children. You wouldn't just let that go to chance, like, I don't want my great aunt to raise these children. You got to make some plans, right? So you got to do the same thing with this baby, is make some plans. If you have a child that has a substance abuse problem, you need to not let that person get hands on a lot of money. You need to be talking to an attorney, a trusted person, and get those things in place now, to protect your child and to protect the investment for everybody. So again, it's not easy being a landlord. There's all sorts of things to think about. And whoever thought about, now I got to think about this and spend some money on that? You do, but you've worked too hard to just let it all go downhill, right? So have you had experience with thinking about the next generation? Do you think your kids are interested in it? I'd love to hear in the comments. I'd love to hear, because we're all in this together. It's not easy being a landlady or landlord, but it can be profitable. Have a great day.